up, everybody? It's Jason Zombie Collector, and I just did a live stream about my the packages coming from eBay and how they suck at packaging. Well, the one that sent me the package that was 20 cents more than that they sent, that I had to pay the additional 20 cents. Well, they sent it, and they sent all these cards and these two regular crappy top loaders. And one of the cards, which is one of the ones I'm most excited about, is now damaged. I don't know about the other ones, but they shoved them all in there. That, you know, these are made for one card, and they shove like 10 cards in there. So I'm having to like squeeze it, like, you know, like having to squeeze at the very top to like open it up just enough so I can try to get my fingers in there and pull it out. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, guys. Do not be like these jagoffs. Like, ship it the right way or don't ship it at all. So now I'm going to be sending that guy a message and complaining that I did not pay for damaged cards. I'm going to go double check and make sure the card didn't look damaged prior to getting that shit sent to me, because maybe it did, and that's on me, and that's fine. I will be fine with it. But this is what I'm talking about, is that people are trying to find as any way possible to maximize their dollars or their schmeckles at the cost of screwing the buyer. So let's take a look at it. So the card that looks the most damaged, and it's a corner issue, and it's a cool card, is the Hulk Hogan Wrestlemania 3 with Andre the Giant. And there's a bum corner down here now. If you can take a look, I don't know if you can, but the corner is bent up, and then at the very top, you can see that it's all jagged, like, you know, like you can tell they're like using their fingernail or something, pushing down the card into the top loader. Let me get that in there. So, you know, this is one of the cards I was most excited about because I didn't have this for my collection. And as you can see, this is in pretty good shape. It looks pretty centered. And look, there's no really problems with the card from what I can tell. The back's nice. So I was pretty pumped about the card. But now, who knows? So I'm gonna be sending that to see if I can get my money back or whatever. The next up was Butch and Luke, the Bushwhackers, right here. I don't know if you all know this, but they're actually from New Zealand. But when I was a kid, I used to thought they were from Australia. I think they even got a build sometimes of Australian, or people just assume they were Australian, but they're actually from New Zealand. And one of their, you know, shticks was licking everybody's face. So they go into the crowd. I mean, nowadays, the COVID world we live in, we can't do this. But back then, they would like lick kids' faces and their heads, and who guys and gals and their opponents and all that stuff. They lick each other's heads. I mean, they're like a lot of big time lickers. But I mean, you know, that was one of their things, and they're like a pretty popular group, especially with the kids, because they're just like shenanigans all the time, which was real popular. Then we got Paul Roma, which of course this card's like in great shape. You know, of course Paul Roma's in great shape. You know, somebody who I don't even care about. But here we got Paul Roma. Let's see here. Paul uses a combination of strength and speed. He teamed up with Jim Powers as the Young Stallions. So there you go. The next up we have Tito Santana, which I just love Tito Santana. I don't recognize this. This is some jobber, I guess he has on the mat. But I was a huge fan of Tito Santana from Mexico. He did the flying forearm. Tito is known of his blend of scientific skill and arsenal of attacks. He went on to become, I believe, a school teacher. Whoa, now I'm going to damage him. A school teacher in, I believe, New York. I believe in New York City, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think he went on to become a teacher, which is pretty cool. There's Tito Santana. And then another one here I'm super excited about is Jim, the Anvil Neinhart, who's part of the Hart Foundation. He married, I believe, Stu Hart's daughter, one of them. So he was like a brother-in-law to Bret Hart and Owen Hart, and also a brother-in-law to the British Bulldog, if I'm not mistaken. So he was part of the Hart Foundation with Bret Hart, and I remember him always like grabbing his goatee and like laughing, and he was like, ha 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 ha. maybe not just like that. No, that I might have went overboard with that a little bit. But hey, you know, that's what you came here for. So that was Jim Neidhart. His daughter Natalia wrestles right now in WWE. Then we have the Ravishing one, Ravishing Rick Rude. And I mean, dude, again, a gimmick that you can no longer get away from. He'd get in the middle of the ring and gyrate and pelvic thrust and all that kind of stuff. And he would have girls come in the ring and bark like a dog and like bow down and kiss his feet. I mean, like stuff you just never gonna see her ever again, I'm sure. But he would have him, and he would like always grab the back of his head, would like interlock his fingers, and just start like, you know, pelvic thrusting and dancing around in the ring. And you know, he definitely had you know, the ladies were always oohing and ahhing for Ravishing Rick Rude, and he always played a heel. I don't know if he ever ended up being a baby face. I'm sure maybe at some point, but then he ended up becoming, I believe, a heel manager in WCW. But yeah, and the funny thing is, he always had his face on his crotch. So as you see in the picture, like he'd have different tights every night or whenever you'd see him, and it was always like a picture of himself, and his head, his face was like always right on his crotch. So it's like, what? And then we have this really awesome one here of Andre the Giant. Luckily, this one looks to be in pretty good shape. In the yellow trunks, which you hardly ever see. This is WrestleMania 2. So he's a good guy here, if I'm not mistaken. After all was said and done, WrestleMania 2's Battle Royal, Andre the Giant was the last man standing. You know, like this is kind of like the last time Andre is quasi in good shape. I mean, in good health, I shouldn't say. Not about good shape, but good health. Because the following year, he's in really rough shape. I mean, because he's like essentially just leaning up against the turnbuckle and against the ropes, and you know, Hulk Hogan picks him up and slams him, but it's just like, you know, he's doing everything he can to kind of just like, you know, get through the match, and Andre has like real no offense. He's just kind of just headbutt and throw him around and pick him up and slam him or whatever. But this is kind of the last time you see him in like some like wrestling ability, because he still had a little bit of, you know, wrestling in the tank, I guess. I don't really remember him after WrestleMania 2 being all that great, to be honest with you. I could be wrong, but I feel like the ship sailed. Then we got the Rockers right here. And I didn't realize, but when they first started out at AWA, they were called the Nightmare Rockers, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Or the Nighttime Rockers. Maybe it was Nighttime Rockers, which I didn't know. AWA was not in Indiana, unfortunately, so I never saw anything that they did because they're up in the Minnesota area. And I think they did some stuff on ESPN, but again, ESPN was in its infancy then, and I don't think it was on most channels unless you, I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing it. But so this is Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. Everybody knows Shawn Michaels went on to become Shawn Michaels, a Heartbreak Kid, and then Marty Jannetty unfortunately ended up, was a complete mess, and still is to this day, unfortunately. And he's like kind of like, unfortunately, it's a joke now. He's like, you don't want to be the Marty Jannetty in your tag group. Everybody wants to be the Heartbreak Kid. No one wants to be the Marty Jannetty because of all the problems he ended up having. And then lastly, WrestleMania 4, you have Andre the Giant here with the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Virgil right here. And so obviously DiBiase is Andre's on the mat. The $1 Million Man and his bodyguard Virgil race to the aid of the felled Andre the Giant. I don't know, that doesn't sound grammatically correct, but what do I know? I went to a public school. Of the felled Andre the Giant. I would think you would say of the fallen. Whatever. It's above my pay grade. Who cares? So this is WrestleMania 4 here. So anyways, you have Andre in the black tights, and I remember him being part of the $1 Million Corporation there for a couple years, maybe, or at least the 1 year from part 4. But again, we're talking about, he's definitely coming to the end, unfortunately. So there you have it, guys. So overall, it's a good experience. I'm still not happy about that one card. It could have been avoided by just putting them in top loaders or putting them in penny sleeves and then putting them in thicker top loaders so you could get more in there and they're not all like literally smashed together. But, we'll figure it out. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and until next time, peace.